I covered this YouTuber years ago, and when I did, I have to admit, I did so quite stupidly. In my opinion, and the opinion of, I'd say most who became aware of the situation at the time. You see, I called out a creator that one of my own fans had recommended I respond to, named DarkViper AU. Funnily enough, I wasn't very perceptive at the time because I didn't quite notice the fact that I was subscribed to DarkViper AU. And for those of you guys who do not know who he is, he's a very large GTA YouTuber. He does a lot of different content. He's got like a Rambles like series. He does like all sorts of different stuff, but he's most known for being a GTA YouTuber. He's pretty huge. He's pretty fucking massive. vidIQ, which is more accurate than Social Blade, estimates he makes 43k to 129k a month off of YouTube ad rev, and I would probably guess that's true. It's pretty accurate, vidIQ. So, yeah, this dude's very successful. He's a big content creator. And I called him out because he's had some pretty, admittedly, unhinged takes, in my opinion, on reaction content. Now, I don't disagree with him in principle. A lot of popular reaction content is truly shameless slop. Think like your Asmongold's and your XQC's. XQC a little less so, but he's still a pretty bad culprit of this, where their reaction to content is more or less a complete market substitute, to the extent where their chats and their audiences are constantly screaming at them for pausing and daring to speak for a second, because their fans are literally just there to have videos curated for them to watch on a stream with a live chat as a market replacement for using the YouTube algorithm, giving these videos views and ad revenue, and helping those creators that you're actually consuming the content of from, you know, getting out there, right? So I agree in principle with DarkViper AU's main problem, but he takes it way too far. He oftentimes seems to view all forms of any kind of reaction content, no matter how transformative it may be, as a scourge, because if it could ever serve as a market replacement for the original material, then you are stealing the intellectual property of the person who you're reacting to. I think even if he saw me characterizing his take here, he'd agree that I'm doing a decent enough job of paraphrasing it. The only problem with that is he does tend to act on this policy. If I were to like bring up one of his videos right now, say, I don't know, the drama YouTuber fakes data and lies for revenge video. If we reacted to this 3-hour video and I turned it into a 12-hour long reaction with the amount of commentary and additional things I added in, he would probably copyright strike me, because reacting to the whole thing, not editing it in sort of a prepared format, using clips of it, and responding to those individual points one by one, he sees as lazy and as theft. And he gets very emotional about this, to be clear. He is known to get a bit passionate, all right? And listen, I can respect that, okay? I'm a passionate guy too. I can get angry and loud and sometimes yell when I'm especially feeling like I'm morally in the right about something, and yet there are actors who are behaving in a way as if I'm morally in the wrong and they're above me. Like, that can kind of make me tweak a bit too. Like, I've tweaked because of that in the past, for sure. And so I can understand why he can be that way. He has dealt with some dishonest people, some honest people that just have differences of opinion on particularly the reaction stuff. But all that aside, I responded to him a while ago. Basically, I didn't even realize that I was already subbed to him. I'd been watching his pacifist playthrough of GTA 5, and I'd never made the realization that the guy I was responding to is the same dude, because he doesn't show his face in the pacifist run videos. I just hear his voice, and I've heard many of an Australian speak on YouTube, so I never made the connection that DarkViper AU was the guy doing the GTA pacifist speedruns that I'd been watching. But I went pretty rough. I went pretty hard in my response, and I made some assumptions about him because I assumed he was just some bearded Australian right-wing, like, chud grift tuber, which is a hilariously wrong assumption of mine, looking back in hindsight, especially with the context of what I'm going to be talking about today. Because, as it turns out, DarkViper AU is very far from being a right-wing chud grifter. He is absolutely not that, and is arguably the literal opposite of that in every way. And so I was quite wrong, and I got ratioed to hell years back because of this. I doubt many of y'all will remember all this because it happened so long ago, and many of you are newer here, but, you know, this happened, okay? You can go back and look at the videos and stuff. I'm pretty sure DarkViper's response to me is probably still up on his channel. He uploads a lot, so it's probably buried like crazy, but it's there. You can find it if you look for it. DarkViper AU, I've got my issues with him, but overall, I'm not gonna lie, I like his content, and I'm going to watch him play GTA 6 when it comes out. I am. He is a GTA 6 voice actor, after all. Anyway, though, DarkViper AU, what you really need to know about him going into this is most people's primary issue with him is that he has a tendency to get a bit passionate when he feels morally correct, and he feels like others are acting against him when he's being morally correct. It makes him outraged, and that can occasionally result in some crash outs. Crash outs that have gone viral and that he's somewhat known for. And so, this drama kind of relies on that context. Going into this drama, you need to know that context, and now that you do, you should be able to understand things a lot better and why people are reacting to them in the way that they are. Now, before we get into this video, if you end up liking it, consider leaving a like, hype the video so it gets boosted in the algorithm if YouTube even lets you, because they have been taking hype away from a lot of my videos for some reason, probably to suppress them. Subscribe if you want to see more, and comment down below. It really does help a lot. Without any further ado, though, let's get into it. So, DarkViper AU is kind of the center of the GTA content creator sphere. I don't think that's really debatable. He's so massive, 2.08 million subscribers. I don't think there are any other GTA YouTubers as big as him. He's quite large. And so, with that in mind, he's obviously friends with a lot of other GTA YouTubers. And the GTA YouTuber sphere, much like any other niche on YouTube, has a wide variety of different sized creators. DarkViper AU is closer to the top, while someone like Cyberboy is closer towards the bottom. I believe he has like 60,000 subscribers as opposed to DarkViper AU's 2 million. And there are other creators too, such as I think it's TCG or TGG. TGG, yes, sorry. I can never remember three-letter acronym channel names. It's I'm sub to him, okay? Anyway, DarkViper AU, friends with a lot of other creators. And I won't lie, I've been actually watching a bit of his stuff lately because I'm so hyped for GTA 6. In particular, he uploaded a video that'll be somewhat relevant here. I think he uploaded it here. Did he not? Where is it? Where he went to, Miami. Did he take the video down? He might have taken the video down unless it was uploaded on a different channel. Maybe TGG uploaded it. I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case. Anyway, DarkViper AU and TGG recently did a video where they went to Miami together. They did a big tour of the place, and they visited a bunch of locations that are going to be in GTA 6. This, TGG, big fellow GTA content creator, but smaller than DarkViper AU for sure. And so they're all friends. But what happened? What big thing ended up going down? Well, Cyberboy, who I'll go ahead and bring up his channel so I can allow him the appropriate screen time. Cyberboy is a smaller, more up-and-coming GTA YouTuber. Like I said, he's got about 60,000 subs. He's below that, but still. I've watched a few of his videos. They're not bad. I'm subbed to his channel. Though, as it would turn out, he's a bit of a chud. I don't know if he's an alt-righter or a Nazi. I'm not going to make any claims that extreme without knowing the guy all that well. If anything, I would assume he's probably just a politically uninformed person who's a little bit susceptible to the cultural swing of the internet as it ebbs and flows to the right and left, and maybe if we were the same amount left-wing as right-wing right now, culturally, he wouldn't be expressing these ideas. I don't think, at least from what I've seen, that there's hard evidence that he's some kind of Nazi, but what he did do was make some statements. I believe it was a video, actually, about the Great Replacement. This was after Charlie Kirk got shot. He ended up talking about how Charlie Kirk was a good man, he was good, and he shouldn't have been killed because he was he had conservative ideas or whatever. This, of course, led to a lot of people to respond to Cyberboy, well, no, Charlie Kirk was a white supremacist, don't cover for the horrible legacy left behind, he didn't deserve to be murdered, but he was still a racist person who had awful beliefs. And Cyberboy kind of refuses to accept that. DarkViper AU eventually would jump in to the fray in this drama and point out that Charlie Kirk is a perpetrator of things like the Great Replacement conspiracy theory. but it really quickly devolved into just a massive blow up. And this part of the drama only happened as far back as 2 months ago, by the way. So we're really going back far right now to get the appropriate context needed to understand the situation. So DarkViper AU, I guess, posted a screenshot in his community posts section of a Cyberboy tweet, where Cyberboy tweeted saying, "Spoke to DarkViper and removed my video on the topic." This is the Charlie Kirk getting shot. "The fundamentals of our disagreement come down to something quite simple. He believes Charlie Kirk is a racist. I don't. So if he believes Charlie's stance to be one of racism, there's nothing I can say to change that, and I believe that is incorrect. I profusely apologize for sharing the DMs, and it's not something I should have done. And I should have attempted to discuss that matter, or the matter, privately first. There are parts that I misunderstood, parts that require deeper conversation. DarkViper has stated that if the video wasn't removed, he would make a video on the topic, and at this point, I can't afford to have thousands of people mass reporting my channel and be at risk of losing my livelihood over a very simple disagreement in politics." Now, mind you, he's kind of playing it back here, saying like, I don't want to get into a fight with a big YouTuber, I just have a disagreement in politics, but he was doing what a lot of conservatives at the time were doing, which was virtue signaling super hard about what a tragedy it was that Charlie Kirk was killed, and how evil anybody joking about it is. So very much attacking those that would recognize the horrible legacy of Charlie Kirk even after he's been killed, not just whitewashing the things he's done just because he's died. DarkViper AU obviously adds his own input, saying, "Hey guys, many of you asked about this, so here you go. Please note before you read that tweet, that this is just him obviously providing the tweet that people were asking about. He obviously goes on to say, "Here you go. Please note before you read that the tweet in the image I provided is entirely false. A smaller creator, Cyberboy, publicly quote tweeted me and accused me of things I didn't do. This is most likely accusing him of joking about or celebrating the death of Charlie Kirk." Mind you, DarkViper is an Australian YouTuber who is having a fight picked with him by a British YouTuber over an American alt-right media personality who was assassinated by a 21-year-old, a 22-year-old who was radicalized on the internet and probably a bit mentally ill and not well-adjusted. And now, like, the degree to which people are using this to attack those in the left that try to hold Charlie Kirk's legacy to accuracy, hold it to account, is crazy. This led to hundreds of comments attacking every aspect of my life and personality, many of which Cyber liked and praised, despite his having watched me for a long time and knowing they were false. There were some very nasty comments being said about DarkViper, many of them targeting his, I believe now, fiancé. A lot of them like to attack his relationship, his partner, and that's very much the kind of thing that people do to content creators when they truly just want to, like, fuck with them, and that's it. You know, just truly, like, malice. Again, I followed up this in DMs rather than publicly to avoid drama. I even took the time to make him a personal video explaining why each point he made was false. In response, he took down the video, yet made a post falsely claiming that what our disagreement was about, and suggesting that I threatened his channel and livelihood to force him to delete his video. As the replies under the tweet show, this is what others concluded. Cyber has corrected none of these false claims either. They praised Cyber for leaking our DMs and coming at me for something Cyber entirely made up. Oddly, my having more subscribers, quote-unquote, wasn't enough to stop him from lying about me publicly, leaking our DMs, making a false video, or lying again publicly. But it apparently was scary enough for me to delete the video only once he realized, or for him to delete the video only once he realized it was all false and could blow up in his face. Selective fear, I guess. And so Cyberboy more or less tried to pull the whole, like, Schrodinger's political activist, more or less, right? Where he tried to make a strong statement against DarkViper AU. You rallied up a bunch of far-right idiots who were angry about the death of Charlie Kirk, and they were going rabid at the time, attacking anybody who they were set upon. Like, without a moment's notice. They would do it right away. And so Cyberboy was absolutely trying to drum up hate and get clout off of attacking DarkViper AU. And then when he realized DarkViper AU actually does have his own crowd to send back at him, it's not just going to be a wave of conservatives attacking DarkViper AU with no response. I mean, he's got his own army of fans. That's when Cyberboy was like, okay, never mind, I don't want that smoke. I don't want that smoke. And so he seems to be walking things back and playing it a little bit more, a little safer. Not only has he left his other public tweets that he knows are false, or left up his other public tweets that he knows are false, he also hasn't explained the things he got wrong or lied about. So everyone who saw the video still believes that his misinformation is correct. I've privately and publicly helped Cyber a dozen times since I've known him, expecting nothing in return. In response, he has publicly attacked me in half a dozen ways and allowed misinformation to spread about every aspect of our involvement and myself as a person. I would have continued handling this privately, but he blocked me, saying his dying father prevents him from speaking to me further. His father not preventing him lying. His father is not preventing him from lying. His father not preventing him lying initially, making a false video, or afterwards making another dozen replies, arguing with people on Twitter about Charlie Kirk. His dying father told him not to talk to DarkViper. That's very bizarre. Wow, I did not get a notification about you going live. SMH, bump for the algorithm. Thank you, Splash Screen. YouTube do be trying to kill my channel. Do I feel rightly aggrieved? Do you want the full story in a video? I have some stuff IRL I have to do, and I can't stream today regardless. I will show his tweet, but be aware, none of what he says here is true. And this is the least of the false claims he made, and that are still on his Twitter. Is it wrong that I just want people to stop lying about me whenever they fuck up? I'd say it's a pretty solid response, and that should have been the end of the drama, theoretically. Like, assuming Cyberboy just kind of went back to what he was doing, DarkViper AU went back to what he was doing, things were calm, things were good. We've got the background. The 2 months ago, context and backstory is learned. You know it now. So why am I talking about this if it all happened 2 months ago? Because just today, literally today, last night and today, there has been a massive development that has led to... The most popular meme I've seen going around is, we saw the GTA 6 YouTube community fracture before we got... Or the GTA YouTube community fracture before we got GTA 6. Which is true. We did. Because... you might know TGG. He is another large GTA YouTuber. I also watch his stuff and am subscribed. Listen, I'm really excited for GTA 6. I'm from Florida, okay? It's a big deal. TGG is a pretty big channel. Oh, wow, he is basically the same size as DarkViper. I did not realize that. He is just, like, DarkViper and him are neck and neck. Holy fuck. Damn, okay, shit, I didn't even realize that. I wouldn't have assumed. Anyway, though, TGG, big channel, really big channel. Him and DarkViper AU were friends. And I think he uploaded the video that I have in mind, right? Yeah, here it is, visiting GTA 6 locations in real life. Now, if you watch this video, you'll see that, they're going to a bunch of locations from GTA 6, but... it is both TGG and, once it finishes loading, come on.
This shot of them sitting on the pier.
There we go. It's DarkViper AU and his fiance. So very much they went to Florida together on a trip because they were friends, right? And that was like the most recent news I'd heard, right? They were doing this podcast together called the 6 Star Podcast. They were going on a vacation, like a dual couples vacation to Miami to visit different GTA 6 locations or the inspirations for those locations. Things looked good. But tell me if any of this sounds a little familiar to you here. And this is why I can kind of relate and empathize, I suppose, with DarkViper AU on this one. TGG and DarkViper are good friends. And TGG is also friends with, guess who? Cyberboy. Cyberboy, somebody who has rallied up attacks against DarkViper, his family, like personal attacks, attempts at doxing, like cringe ass, like unhinged death threats. Really awful shit was directed at him for the claim that he was celebrating Charlie Kirk's death, that he was some American radical leftist despite being an Australian gaming YouTuber who just wasn't falling for the idea that Charlie Kirk was some hero, right? And so, obviously, without a shadow of a doubt, DarkViper AU, feeling a little bit morally superior, and I would argue being morally superior on this issue, seems to have confronted TGG, from what I understand, in private, asking for him to more or less choose between Cyberboy and him. Many have referred to this, calling it an abusive tactic, and I can see where people are coming from, why they might default to assuming that, but I feel like there's a pretty noticeable line between being a controlling, unhinged psycho who demands that you have to approve of every single person that your friends interact with. And I think there's a big difference between that and just, hey, we're friends. You obviously wouldn't be fucking around with people that are actively, like, malicious towards me and are preying upon my downfall, right? Because that would be a kind of worrying conflict of interest for me, because it's a one-sided hate. With that person despises me, and I'm just made uneasy by them. And the fact you're cool with both of us is a little weird. Like, I've been in that situation. I'm sure many of you have been. If you're trans, I'm sure I can make a comparison situation that'll make a lot of sense. How many of you, of my trans viewers, have had a friend who's like, oh, yeah, my transphobic boyfriend or girlfriend, yeah, they won't use your pronouns, but, you know, they're really nice at heart. You just got to get to know them. They're really nice. And they're just making excuses for their partner or friend who's, like, who's, like, actively disrespecting your identity. It's a bit like that. Like, I don't think it's abusive to be like, hey, why are you dating the guy who refuses to use my pronouns, for instance? It's a pretty good comparison, I think, to help some people get the kind of vibe that it might feel like when you're friends with somebody and they're low-key fucking around with people that are preying on your downfall, that are willing to get down and dirty and attack you in areas, attack you below the belt, let's say. And so things got a little heated because of this, because TGG and DarkViper AU were literally just hanging out together a couple weeks ago from the looks of things. Somehow this drama maybe fermented while they were there in person. I don't know all the details, but just today, or sorry, I should say just 11 hours ago, TGG uploaded a video called Why I Quit the 6-Star Podcast with DarkViper AU. Now, critically, the reason why the entire falling out happened is because Cyberboy attacked DarkViper AU for refusing to buy into the fake narrative that Charlie Kirk was a hero, and rallied an army of people to try and harass and attack DarkViper AU, believing that he was pro-lefties killing conservatives. We all know how rabid they were back then, the army that would have been sent after him. That is a critical bit of context to this story. TGG's response, I watched it this morning. I'll admit, I watched it. I pre-watched it. And I did not like it. I think overall I understand where he's coming from, but just because I understand where he's coming from doesn't mean I don't think his position is incorrect and stupid, which I do believe it is in fact incorrect and stupid. Creators like Cyberboy should not be receiving the support of massive multi-million sub-channels unless they're willing to, I think, unless they're willing to stand by the ideas that creator uses their platform to normalize. If you're too much of a coward to own it, then I lose a lot of respect for you, frankly. I kind of do. And so, I don't want to shit-talk TGG. I'll still be watching his content and stuff, but I was really disappointed by this response. And I'm sure we're probably going to see DarkViper drop his own response. However, I'm pretty sure he'll strike me if I were to react to his response video to this one. Though I will say, if DarkViper AU does find out that I made this video and he wants to watch it on stream, full permission given. I will not strike you. I will not claim you. You can monetize it, upload it, clip it and upload it on YouTube, all that. You have my permission specifically. I mean, everybody has my permission to do that. Like, I don't mind clip channels, but DarkViper AU specifically has permission to watch my video on his stream. I don't know. Maybe you'll consider this a good summary of the situation. Imagine the shout out. All the people coming in here, making Merryweather. The Merryweather fleet is coming. Jokes. Anyway, let's check out this video. Why I quit the 6-star podcast with DarkViper AU.
Hey guys, I know this video isn't going to concern most of you, but I feel like this is a very important video to make. Recently, I decided to end my podcast with DarkViper AU called the 6-Star Podcast, and in this video, I kind of want to clear up a lot of misconceptions around it, as well as clarify some of the misinformation and lies that have been spreading, as well as some false narratives going around about how Matt and I kind of had a falling out, so I'm going to clarify that today. I'm not going to try and make it too long, just going to explain my side of the story, and debunk a lot of the false narratives, maybe even lies that have been spreading about it. To be clear, I don't want to attack Matt at any of this, and I do not condone any hate that you may send his way. Don't do it.
So, TGG is obviously not going hardcore like I defend Cyberboy here, but he's taking that very frustrating YouTuber cop-out position where there's one creator who is clearly expressing morally compromised ideas and has some sort of moral compromised position. Now, obviously, Cyberboy might just be moderately conservative, fell for the idea that Charlie Kirk was just some moderate conservative, and got on board with the train of believing like Charlie Kirk was just had the politics of your conservative uncle, and now lefties are celebrating his death, right? Maybe that was the perspective he had, but regardless, he still used that to attack DarkViper with an army of rabid white nationalists, who then went after his, like, fiance and his, like, tried to dox him and stuff. So he's kind of already trying to distance himself from this, as if, like, the idea of invoking his name with any involvement in this, despite this being a drama between two GTA YouTubers, whom he is friends with both, he's acting as though expecting any kind of action on his part is unreasonable. And mind you, in situations like this, you'll notice it's always the person doing the perpetrating action of a, like, negative thing that never expects anything of the mutual friends. And while it's the victim of the negative actions that always expects something of their mutual friends to, like, make a statement or make a stand against it, which always means that the aggrieved party is always asking more of that mutual friend, and that just kind of comes off as needy, abusive, manipulative. That's the kind of perception a lot of people have had of DarkViper AU in this situation.
I think he makes great GTA content, and I hope he continues to do that going forward. Also, I want to address why I'm actually making this video. I have a pretty strong stance on trying to keep any drama off my channel. However, Matt made a community post about me yesterday, and he had
on TGG's false public statements about us, his continued deleting of them, and the ending of the 6-Star Podcast. I never expected to explain this, as I begged TGG to say nothing. I think we see the whole message in a bit, but the key thing here is TGG liked a reply that went pretty damn hard on DarkViper, claiming, I'm not surprised. Who would want to be friends with DarkViper AU? He seems like a psycho. Hopefully his girlfriend leaves him, was the comment. And TGG liked that comment, indicating a very strong bias in favor of Cyberboy in all of this. And what's really frustrating now is that he's trying to play the centrist, like, has no political opinions, doesn't like to get involved with drama position here. But he very much chose a side. He couldn't help himself but indicating that he had a side in this. So he's acting as though he's super distant from it, but he did kind of choose to get involved. And here I thought that DarkViper AU was the one that got TGG involved. I misremembered a little, my bad.
A pinned comment on that post saying that he won't be discussing this further. I agreed to let that go, and we would leave it at that. However, a friend has let me know that Matt has changed this pinned comment to "see you soon," implying that he will be making a video on me as soon as he gets back. So quite frankly, I wanted to get out in front of this and stop more lies being spread. Recently, I made a post on Twitter explaining why I decided to end the podcast. In the second paragraph of the tweet, I explained that it was my decision to end the podcast and that I don't want you to blame Matt for it. That one's on me. The reason being, I don't feel comfortable sharing a business or a podcast with someone who is getting involved in a drama and politics environment semi-regularly. I want to make...
This is where I started to roll my eyes at this video. The vast majority of drama that DarkViper AU has been involved in hasn't necessarily been drama that he started. He's definitely expressed his opinion, and with a large platform, you express your opinion, people see it as an attack. And he has copyright takedowns some channels, but the cases where he did that were pretty clear cases of just his content getting ripped. So I can respect that. However, this idea that DarkViper AU getting involved in politics, and mind you, DarkViper AU's involvement in politics was literally just expressing the position that in one of the most relevant stories in the world of politics at the time, that people were falling for the wrong position. They were falling for a lie. And he pointed that out. And now TGG is like, well, I don't want to be involved with someone who gets into drama and talks politics. Now, if you express left-wing political positions online, you're going to be in nonstop drama. People will be constantly trying to destroy you. He doesn't actually mean that when he says he doesn't want to be involved with someone who's always talking politics. Cyberboy talks politics. He talks conservative politics, which have a bias to not get attacked or called out or seen as political at all online. So Cyberboy having a political position about Charlie Kirk, defending Charlie Kirk's belief and advocation for things like the Great Replacement conspiracy theory, that's just his opinion. But when DarkViper AU expresses his politics, because he's left-wing and his positions are controversial right now, he's a liability in the eyes of TGG. Normie YouTubers that make gaming contents, like content about anything that's not politics, have a favorability for conservative political creators, or creators that have conservative politics. They don't get called out or get dogpiled for expressing their views. But if you're someone like DarkViper, who happens to lean left, he gets into drama every time he dares to open his mouth about politics, because everyone online gets triggered. And the fact that other people get mad at him means, in TGG's world, he's a liability to have around. I rolled my eyes so hard at this point when watching this video originally.
GTA videos, I do not give an F about politics. Quite honestly, I do not care. So I just want to keep that stuff away from my channel. If you want to read the rest of the statement, it's all on your screen now. You can go through it, but we're moving forward. A lot of people have been saying that I made this situation public by making this post, when in fact...
Granted, he's Australian, I believe, so maybe it's easier to avoid politics, but dog. One of the most significant portions of your audience is probably Americans. And a significant amount of Americans are not able to make their car payments and are starving right now because they can't get their EBT and SNAP benefits. They're not getting any government assistance to keep food in their stomachs, to stay alive. And we're about to enter Christmas vacation, where countless children will no longer be getting school lunches. To say I don't care about politics in a time like this when you've got a platform of millions of people, maybe this is the woke SJW side of me, but it just comes off as so fucking, I don't even want to call it privileged. I just want to call it ignorant, It's this is the kind of guy who lives the sort of life that, he doesn't have to care about politics. And I hate that so many of the most successful and influential people naturally live the kind of lives where they get to not care about politics. It's rough.
Matt actually agreed to me doing this. Here is the message of him agreeing to this. That's on your screen now. Now, I don't mean to leak DMs, but as Matt said himself, there are certain situations when it's justified, and under his definition, this is one of them.
To be clear, the only time that I've heard people say leaking DMs is justified is when there's threats of harm, or a person is publicly lying and you have evidence of that in private DMs and it's something important.
Now, a lot of you may not be aware, quite frankly, because it doesn't really matter too much, about why Matt and I have had a falling out behind the scenes. The reality is, and this is probably gonna sound quite silly, it's because Matt believes that I wasn't a good friend. Matt has basically accused me of not caring about him as a friend or a person and putting my brand or channel above our friendship. He claims that I cut.
I'm gonna be honest, from my perspective, as someone who likes both of them, that's definitely the case. That's my guess. And I know, listen, I got X-ray vision for this kind of thing. I'm a creator. I'm a YouTuber. I can X-ray vision and see past the shop front that is a YouTube channel's persona and get a little bit of an insight into the kind of things happening underneath. TGG is a massive channel. He is very clearly trying not to alienate anybody. He wants to have liberals, leftists, conservatives, and Nazis all watching him, and ideally not fighting in the comments, just watching his stuff, supporting him, and just thinking about and talking about GTA. And on the surface, that sounds just fine. But when politics does come up, and when the politics that do come up are, like, the important shit, you know? Like, he mentions that he's heard of it, but maybe he doesn't know what it is. The Great Replacement Conspiracy is the idea that brown people immigrating into quote-unquote white countries, do what you will with the idea that countries are white or not white, because there's sort of an assumption that certain countries are supposed to be majority white, just in stating that alone. But the conspiracy is that white countries are being destroyed by immigration because brown people are immigrating into these countries and they are having kids, or even, God forbid, engaging in interracial couplery with white people. And then there are less white children. White birth rates are also dropping because white people in America and in most West developed countries tend to be more wealthy and well off. And as generations get wealthier and younger, they have kids less. And so white people have been on a downtrend of having kids, and we're doing a lot of immigration, so they claim that this is a intentional great replacement of white people that is done by, primarily they argue the Jews are behind it. So the guy who he is defending, the idea that he is saying he just doesn't want to touch, he doesn't want to have an opinion on, is a far-right position believed by those that want racial purity within their nation, okay? I'm not saying Cyberboy believes in the Great Replacement and wants some kind of racial white purity in his country, the UK, I guess, but Charlie Kirk did. Charlie Kirk screamed on camera dozens of times the Great Replacement was real. So, when DarkViper AU calls out Charlie Kirk for that, and Cyberboy gets angry and calls DarkViper AU insane for calling that out, he might as well be defending the Great Replacement. And with TGG calling out DarkViper AU for calling that out, he might as well himself be defending the Great Replacement as well.
Him off as soon as I thought that he would be a potential liability to my brand and my channel, which he is completely entitled to feel, but as we will show, this is provably false. So Matt has made this very long post about me on both YouTube and Twitter. So we're going to go through certain parts of this, debunk it, explain my perspective, and then hopefully move on. The start of Matt's statement says that he begged me to say nothing publicly and to avoid drama, which it just isn't true. As I showed before, here is a DM from Matt and I where I explained that I would say publicly that we decided to end the podcast because I don't want to get involved in drama and politics. And
now, to be fair, that was before TGG liked a tweet from one of his repliers saying that DarkViper AU is a psycho and he hopes that his girlfriend leaves him. So when you have like your, okay, we're burying the hatchet, the drama is over, we'll hash out anything left in private. When you have that conversation, and then you like a really mean-spirited tweet about that person, they can see that. They can see what you like. They can see what specific reply you chose to, because like sometimes when a big account likes something, it gets pushed to the timeline of that account's followers too. So you low-key promoted that. You low-key promoted that, and that's reigniting the drama. You can't say you buried the hatchet and wanted to go private with all this and then start liking tweets, shit-talking DarkViper after the fact, and then say, what do you mean? We buried the hatchet.
Matt said that he agrees, he completely understands, and he also agrees that that is true. As for begging me to not publicly talk about this, he's referring to this statement that I made here. And in fact, he's blocked me on all platforms. I couldn't reach out to Matt, and it was only after I made the post that he messaged me about it. And these are the types of messages he has been sending me. OMG, shut the fuck up. You don't need to reply to every comment. You've gotten into drama with dozens of creators. Delete your tweets. Stop talking publicly, you moron. You exist in a fantasy world. Stop time.
Let them talk. Stop talking publicly, you moron. I can think of a dozen times you've called out creators on Twitter. You have no concept of how many requests I had over the years for me to defend you because of shit you said or did. That tweet is pretty fair, no? I mean, I feel like this is a very much like an argument between a friend who's like, dog, why are you defending this guy who's attacking me and my girlfriend? Him being like, I thought I'm being pretty fair. He's trying so hard to play the middle ground. And it seems reasonable, but if one party is actually being aggrieved by the other, then playing the middle ground is doing exactly what the, offending party wants. The offending party wants the mutual friends to think it's not a big deal, and for the person who's been aggrieved to think it's a bigger deal, to act like it's a big deal, and to push away their mutual friends. That is what the aggressor in a situation like this wants to happen. They want the mutual friends to be this, flighty kind of, I don't want to get involved, I'd rather keep hands off with it, you know? They want that reaction.
Creators, delete your tweets. Stop talking publicly, you moron. You exist in a fantasy world. Stop typing, delete. Delete your tweets, shut the fuck up, never mention me again. I don't exist. If there was a shred of...
I mean, to be fair, at this point, he'd already liked that tweet, calling DarkViper a psycho, and saying he hopes that DarkViper AU's girlfriend leaves him. At that point, I mean, you've gotten pretty nasty with him. You can't say he's unhinged for saying, delete your tweets, shut up, when you're liking tweets that are just as mean.
Sincerity in anything you've said, delete your tweets and shut up. How was I so blind to who you were? And then he went on to say, do you want me to point out publicly all the lies in your...
So you can see he mentions his girlfriend here, Aitana, is DarkViper's girlfriend. So that's how you can get an indication of, TGG had already liked the tweet by this point, and that's why this escalated.
Blind to who you were. And then he went on to say, do you want me to point out publicly all the lies in your post? Do you want me to fight publicly? You can't just lie publicly and expect no response, implying that if I don't delete the tweets, he is going to publicly respond, which, yes, definitionally is blackmail and is a threat. Now, a lot of people...
You could see it that way if you're trying to frame him as being unhinged. But from his perspective, I definitely think it does come off as unhinged and kind of blackmail-y. But from his perspective, he's probably seeing it as the biggest professional courtesy he could do. You posted misinformation about me. I don't want to have drama. So you can delete the misinfo and we can bury the hatchet and forget about this, or I'm going to have to respond to you. It's not blackmail. If you're a content creator and another 2 million subscriber YouTuber is saying shit about you, positive or negative, you gotta acknowledge it. If it's staying up and they're standing by it with their big-ass platform and their huge following, you gotta respond to it. That's not him threatening, take down what you said, or I'm going to respond to you. It's like, you said something about him. Of course, if you don't take it down, he's going to have to make a response. You're two content creators with over 2 million subs. This is how YouTube works, okay? Welcome to drama, man. This is how it works. You know, you get involved in drama, you say anything about the person that you're in a drama with, they're going to have to respond to you. I've learned that lesson myself. You know, if you really want to have an armistice in a drama, you just don't talk about the other person, period.
Have been asking me why I deleted all of these tweets. That's your answer. I didn't want Matt to go public with all of this stuff, so I deleted the tweets, and he went public with it anyway, so... Okay. He goes on to claim that I think he is a psycho, and I want Aitana to leave him, which is actually a very important thing that we need to talk about, and I want to dedicate,
So, I brought up this part a lot. He's about to lampshade it, but I think it's critical to why I don't see DarkViper as unhinged here, because all of that he just read followed what he's about to show you here And because he can't defend what he did here in the context of trying to play the middle ground character who picks no sides and just wants to avoid the drama, he owns up that this was wrong, but still goes after DarkViper for the last 5 minutes for all the things he said to him because of the thing that he did that he is admitting was wrong right now. Just letting you know.
Few minutes to that specifically at the end of the video. Matt then goes on to say that I have badgered and pestered him for a podcast since 2021. The reality is, the idea of a podcast was first mentioned by Modest Pelican while we were in Disneyland in 2024. Modest Pelican wanted to do a podcast with us, so we did an episode. Pelly thought it wasn't for him, and he decided not to do it anymore, so we decided to call it quits. On February 17 of 2025, Matt messaged me asking if I wanted to do a podcast with him, which goes against everything he's been saying here, because it's not true. Matt was the one that wanted to do a podcast because he was winding down his Rambles series. This was not my idea. Matt has also gone on to say that me cancelling the podcast and our falling out has nothing to do with politics and nothing to do with wanting to distance myself from drama, which again, is not true. He goes on to say that, as people guessed, our fallout was over his response to the cyberboy drama, which I think we kind of need to discuss and clarify, because that's very misleading. In September of 2025, a lot of people were drawn into a bunch of political discussion, which quite honestly I don't even want to go into, but Matt was one of...
Fundamentally, you cannot have this conversation honestly without getting into it. TGG's position is inherently not, I don't want to call it immoral, because that's not where I'm trying to go with this. There's a conflict of interest here. Because TGG wants to come off like he's giving the most all-encompassing explanation of how this drama happened, but he doesn't want to get into the politics of it. The fact is, the politics of it are paramount to this situation. They are absolutely vital. You must understand the politics of this situation in order to recognize the position that DarkViper AU was put into. It wasn't, this isn't a disagreement over politics necessarily that broke apart the relationship either. It was TGG's reaction to it. The fact that TGG chose trying to keep two bridges intact for his, perceptively from my POV, his own potential future and his own career and his, bottom line, etc. He doesn't want to offend any particular conservative audience, maybe, or burn bridges with conservative GTA YouTubers. And so, he doesn't want to take a position. And because of that, he did some things that I would argue DarkViper AU was totally right to perceive as bad friend shit. The kind of stuff someone who's not exactly a great friend would do. You expect your friends to be there to support you, to defend you, to stand up for you when you're wronged. Even if the person who wronged you is another friend of theirs. You hope for that in your friends. Like, so much of everything to do with why friendship is cool is that your friends stand up for you when you're wronged. You have people there to support you. DarkViper AU's fundamental disagreement with TGG is he wasn't a good friend because he wasn't there to support DarkViper. He was there to question him and raise doubts about DarkViper's position when... And granted, this is more of a political position thing if you don't believe in white racial purity. DarkViper was right, and the person he was arguing with was wrong.
These people. He had been arguing back and forth mainly on Twitter with a bunch of other creators, as well as GTA creators, about some niche conspiracy theories like the Great Replacement theory. Dude, to be honest...
he doesn't even... he says just enough to, let me know what he's talking about, but I bet the average GTA fan watching this video doesn't know what the Great Replacement and then cutting himself off is leading to. A lot of them probably won't even know where he's going with that. But the people who know, I bet they're like, wait a sec, just like me, they're like, wait, the Great Replacement conspiracy? Hold on. I thought maybe we're just talking about Cyberboy having some right-wing positions. I didn't realize who's pushing the Great Replacement. That's some serious stuff. That's when I realized that maybe TGG isn't being as honest as he could be in the framing of this. And that's what made me dive into this drama and find out the truth of it.
I don't know what a lot of this nonsense is, and I don't care to. When I see politics, I just want to get that nonsense away from my channel. I just want to play GTA. And
Ew,
as you can see
politics.
in these messages here,
For Christ's sakes, I just want to grill.
I tried to check in on Matt when this was happening and see that he's okay as a friend. I also advised Matt that I don't think it's a good idea for him to get involved with all of this, and that the best course of action is to probably just stop and let it go. Matt responded by trying to explain why he was justified in making all of these tweets, but the reality is, my point to Matt was,
What's his
it doesn't
justification?
matter if you're right. Like, even if you're right, it's just not worth getting into politics.
I am curious to see DarkViper AU's inevitable response to this, because I have a feeling that a lot of the stuff that he's deliberately keeping vague, screenshots he's not showing, etc., I think DarkViper's going to show those screenshots, and in the full context, it's going to be, TGG definitely chose a way to frame this. It's so bizarre, too, because literally a couple weeks ago, they were making a video together in Miami. It's, they seem to be real friends, this is a, Hassan and Ethan Klein, iDubbbz and Ethan Klein level breakup. It's kind of YouTube shattering for this particular niche.
Like, most of your viewers don't want to see that, and it should just be avoided. Matt didn't take my advice, which is fine, that's okay, and he continued to make politically driven videos on his channel. I woke up the next morning to a message from Matt saying sorry, and I responded just by saying, I hope you're okay, Matt. I'm not going to try and help. I know you don't want my advice. At this point, I woke up to another politically driven video and stream on Matt's channel. I went through the stream, and Matt himself actually said in the stream that he wouldn't be surprised if I wanted to cancel the podcast because he knows I don't want to get involved in politics. So the next day, I messaged Matt doing just that, canceling the podcast. However,
the reason YouTubers don't want to get involved in politics, by the way, is because they don't want to alienate one side or the other. They want to be able to benefit from both sides of the political aisle, watching their stuff and liking them, and so they want to maintain a political ambiguity, a mysteriousness, where if someone is super politics obsessed, you can just assume that he agrees with your politics, because he never indicates he doesn't. No hints or signs appear in his content that would indicate he doesn't agree with your politics, no matter what side you're on. And he wants that plausible deniability so that no politically interested viewer will feel alienated. When you take a hard stance on something, you will alienate a certain amount of people. Half of the population, or more like a third, is conservative, so you're gonna definitely piss off a lot of people, especially in the gaming niche. This is very much him not wanting to take a firm stance on important issues because he knows his audience is probably split at best 50-50 on those issues, and he doesn't want to piss off half his audience.
You can read through this message. I made it very clear that I don't want this to affect our friendship and that I still think of Matt as a good friend. I just don't want to have a podcast with someone who's talking about this sort of stuff. Matt responded by saying he completely understands. But 30 minutes later, he messaged me again trying to convince me to continue doing the podcast. And I sent him this message. Again, saying that if you want to make that content, Matt, go for it. That's fine. I don't think it's the right thing to do, but if you want to do it, man, go for it. But again, made it very clear to him that I still see him as a friend and this doesn't change anything between us on a personal level. Matt responded with a bunch more messages, the most important one in my opinion being that he said he has put me in a shitty situation and he's sorry, but he doesn't think it's as bad as I think. Along with asking what we should tell our audiences about why the podcast has been cancelled. I said, I know it wasn't your intention, man. I don't hold that against you. If people ask, just tell them the truth. We're still friends, but I want to distance myself from controversy and politics. It doesn't have to be deeper than that, because it's not. Matt said, yeah, I think that's fair. I think that given you don't normally make any political statements, people will accept that. It is clearly true.
So, this drama, this is kind of where, the main meat of it for now kind of ends. I've watched this video already, but the main premise of what's happening right now is DarkViper's probably going to make a response. It will probably come out either today or tomorrow. He's pretty fast with that kind of stuff. So we'll no doubt see that in the next couple days. I won't be able to watch it on stream for obvious reasons, but I don't think TGG is a bad guy. I think he's like a lot of other YouTubers in that he is content-brained. He is platform-brained, influencer-brained, and despite having a massive platform, he doesn't have any aspirations to use that platform to make the world a better place or anything like that. He just wants to talk about and play GTA and have a career doing so. Anything that involves injecting his own personal opinion or personality in there that could jeopardize that he's not interested in. DarkViper AU, for all of his, all the criticisms I've thrown his way, nobody can argue that DarkViper AU is too afraid to express his opinion. No one can argue that DarkViper AU shies away from saying what he believes for a paycheck. No one can say that DarkViper AU is a coward. DarkViper AU is a creator who has built the same size audience, bigger actually, by a bit, than TGG, and he has done so taking hard stance positions on sometimes unpopular issues that have gotten him negative responses, and yet he has still managed to grow and maintain the career he has today. Say what you want about him, but that speaks volumes about the quality of his content and the diligence of his work ethic. I respect it. Anyway, folks, that more or less summarizes this drama for now, so if you found this video interesting, consider leaving a like and a comment down below. Helps a ton. Make sure to hype the video and subscribe if you want to see more from me. Boost the video and my channel in the evil algorithm. Really does help a lot, and thank you for watching.